welcome. You're watching Business Today Television. I'm Sakshi Batra. Well, Diwali is almost here, and while you all are drawing a list of what all to purchase, setting your budgets on where all are you going to be spending this Diwali, remember that it is also an equally important time to now sit down and plan your finances. And what better than the auspicious time of Diwali to really start planning your investments for a bright financial future. And this is where we come in and we will help you make this entire process absolutely easy. And joining in to perfect your financial planning this Diwali are two gorgeous women with me. On this panel, I have with me tax expert Gauri Chadha and financial planning expert Mrin Agarwal. Well, welcome to both of you and thank you so much for taking the time out. And here's wishing both of you a fabulous Diwali, Mrin and Gauri.
Thank you.
Thank
Mrin,
you. Happy Diwali to you too.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Mrin, let me begin with you. For all the people who want to kickstart with financial planning this Diwali, they've thought this, they've not done anything as of now. But this is where the most difficult step is. They don't know where to start. The first step is absolutely the most difficult. So tell our viewers where exactly to begin if one is just wanting to start off with their financial planning journey.
Good evening, Sakshi. It's really nice to be here today on your show. And thank you for having me, and Diwali wishes to you too. Well, a lot of people do want to do financial planning, and the term is somewhat used quite interchangeably with investment planning. So I think first we need to understand what is financial planning, which is really creating a financial plan for your financial goals and working around with your current situation, your current finances, to see how you can fulfill these particular goals. Most people think that just planning their investments or this, finding that right investment is what financial planning is, but that is just investment planning, and that is a part of the financial planning itself. So
True.
I think first we need to get that right. The second thing I think that's really important is to work with a certified financial planner to get a financial plan written. There are many tools and calculators available online, but those can only help you calculate what you need to save for your financial goals. You would need to take some advice from a financial planner, and you do have fee-only planners who are available, who can actually, put all this together and help you navigate your financial future.
That's very rightly pointed out. Financial planning, investment planning, how are they different? Where exactly do you start? And most importantly, get yourself introduced to a financial planning expert who can absolutely put things together for you this Diwali. So if you've not done that already, this is the time to find the right financial expert for yourself as well. Gauri, let me come to you. Tax planning is also extremely critical. All of us know that. And yet it is so complicated for all of us. The general behavior that all of us have is that, postpone tax planning as much as we can till the last moment, till the time you absolutely need to submit all those things when your employer needs it, or when, the last date comes, until the time penalties kick in. That's the usual behavior. But, on Business Today TV, that's what we want to do. We want to help viewers save, invest and prosper, and also how to save taxes. This Diwali is extremely important as well. So why don't you help us with what is critical to do when it comes to tax planning?
Definitely. Sakshi, earlier till last year or maybe prior to that, the mantra was to do tax planning, start investing in tax saving instruments from the very beginning of the financial year, that is April. But now the mantra has changed. Now, basically, you have to see your regime, which regime you are opting for, new or old. Because if you are going for new regime, then maybe you don't need these tax saving instruments. So basically, if you are just investing for saving taxes and not to compound your wealth or, make money out of that investing, then there's no point. You will block your money for say 3 years, 5 years, or maybe even longer period of time. So there's no point. So if you are going for new regime and you are still continuing with your tax saving investments, then I see no point in that. You can go for better investment options where maybe you will get more amount of interest, or compounding will be in a better way, and maybe you won't be saving taxes, but in any ways you are not saving taxes if you are going for the new regime. And as per my understanding, Sakshi, from this year onwards, that is the financial year which is going on, that is financial year 23-24, I believe mostly people will be opting for the new regime. And now
Okay.
the question is, if you have already submitted or you have opted for old regime with your employer already during the first quarter of the financial year only, then in that case, you can still, while filing your return, you can still change the regime and you can claim the refund if you are saving taxes in the new regime. So basically, the mantra is, don't go for tax saving options just to save tax if you are going for the new regime and saving more tax in new regime. So don't park your money or block your money in the investment options which have higher lock-in and they're not giving you other benefits which maybe some other instrument will give you.
Wow. So that I think is in sync with what even Rin is saying, get down to plan your finances rather than just looking for short term opportunities or where you can save taxes for a particular period of time, rather than look at financial goals, set them up and start planning those. So Rin, now break it down for us. For somebody wanting to start, how do you draw a financial plan for this new year?
So firstly, you need to figure out what your financial goals are. And I think that's where people do have some problems in quantifying them. So a financial goal cannot just be that I want to save for retirement, right? It has to be more about I want to save for retirement, keeping my current expenses in mind, right? And of course, not forget to take inflation into account in these goals. So a lot of times what happens is people say, I want to save 20 lakhs for my child's education, but they don't
Yeah.
take inflation, which is more than 10% on education, into account, right? So, it's really important that first identify what are your financial goals, quantify these goals, and have a time frame for the goal as well. It cannot be open at nature, right? And once you do that goal setting, then it's about looking at where have you invested currently and tagging some of those investments to your financial goals. For example, if you have employee provident fund or if you've done NPS, you might want to tag, of course, you'll want to tag it to retirement. But for example, if you've done PPF or equity funds, then you're looking at tagging it to other long term financial goals. And you also have to then see what is the gap between what you need to invest further and what you have available for investing further, to then figure out, okay, how am I going to bridge this gap? Do I take a higher amount of risk? Do I delay my goal, or do I reduce the quantum of my goal? These are various decision points that are going to be there. And this is where I again would say that the financial planner would be of great help, because on our own sometimes to take these decisions is not easy, also to do the math is not easy. And that's where I think financial planners can really add a lot of value.
Absolutely. So, Gauri, why don't you also help us understand? Say, if somebody has not yet done any sort of tax planning for the year so far, how does one go about doing it if one decides to do it this Diwali?
See, of course, again, the same thing. First, you have to see the regime. And now we talk about if we are still going for the old regime, and then we need the tax planning, instruments and savings. Then, of course, you have to see which investments and expenses which you are already incurring just to, like on a normal basis, on a regular basis, you have that, and then you can claim the benefit of the same, like tuition fees and insurance, traditional insurance policies if you have, or maybe mediclaim policies, you already have those. So you can see what is the margin left for the other instruments. If you still have some margin, then you can of course increase your investments. You can invest in other instruments which will fill that gap and give you a good tax saving. But the thing is that this year you have to be very careful, because if you block your money for next 3, 5, or more than 5 years, there's no point if you're opting for the new regime. So this is the crux of the whole thing, that your regime is really important. And you have to be careful if you have a business, because if you run a business and you opt for the new regime this year, or maybe you had opted last year, then you can't switch every year. You can just opt out once. So maybe you are stuck also. So you have to be careful about that. But if you are salaried, then you can shift every year. There is no problem in that. Even if you opted for new regime last year, this year you can go for old, again new, whatever. That is totally your call, your choice. And the employer has no role to play in that. It is totally as per your discretion. And whatever you choose it while filing your return, and you can save more taxes.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's get down to now understanding the popular investment options that investors can look at while planning their finances, while looking at the goals as well, the popular options that there are, and of course the tax liabilities that each of these investments or options also have, to give a better idea to all our viewers. So let's start off with an asset class which of course is very popular from generations in India, and that is gold. And this is the time when a lot of gold purchases really happen. Dhanteras comes in, Diwali comes in. A lot of people think of gold as a safe haven asset. It's also something which is passed on as inheritance in our generations in Indian culture as well. So a lot of importance is given here. So Mrin, tell us, like, if somebody wants to buy gold or invest in gold, is it going to be a good idea this Diwali? If yes, then how much of gold is good idea? In which form of gold is a good idea to invest in this time around?
Yeah, so I'll give this answer in two ways. Okay,
Okay.
one, as a financial advisor,
Mm-hmm.
of course, I would say that the best way to buy gold is the sovereign gold bond, because it comes with no cost compared to physical gold, which comes with a 30% overhead, right? So when you go and buy jewelry, for example, all this making charge, wasting charge, all of this adds up. The overheads all add up to about 30%. And in sovereign gold bond, you don't have that. And further, the returns at the end of 8 years are tax free in sovereign gold bond, which is not the case with physical gold, because when you sell it up beyond 3 years, then it is going to be taxable at the rate of 20% capital gain, right? So, certainly it's just that, the sovereign gold bond is not tangible. And that's why a lot of people still think that buying physical gold is a better idea. So I will say that, any investor needs to have about 15% exposure to gold in the portfolio, and you're better off doing it through the digital form than through physical form. Now, my answer as an individual and as a woman, right?
Yes.
So I would say that, where Dhanteras is concerned, and, keeping in mind that this is festive season and this is part of our rites and rituals, I feel it's okay to go and buy some gold in physical form. And to be honest, this is what I do myself. I buy what I think I'm going to use and what I'm going to wear. And of course, that 30% cost always reaches me. And every time I go to any shop, I'll say, oh my God, your overhead charges are really high. But,
Yeah.
honestly, I just buy whatever I'm going to use and wear. So I will say, buy, whatever you're using and wearing. I mean, I don't want to buy gold and I'm just going to keep in a locker. So
Correct.
that aspect, I'm saying, that in SGB, but what you're wearing, just go ahead and buy it. This Dhanteras, of course, gold is at an all-time high. Remember that.
All right, gold is at an all-time high. So, in case you want to still indulge for wearing yourself, Samrin gives a go ahead because she does it herself. But for an investment purpose, sovereign gold bond it is from Rin's side. What about you, Gauri? Do you also think that gold investment is something that one should really go for? And also, what is the tax aspect here that one needs to remember? How is gold investment really taxed if one purchases gold this time?
Sakshi, I completely agree with Mrin, because I personally also prefer sovereign gold bonds any day. I don't wear gold. I don't like wearing gold. Plus, I think again, like she said, don't keep it in the locker. Buy it only if you wear it. So I personally don't feel that buying a physical gold as an investment is a good idea. Now, if you're talking about taxation, so of course, any investment you are making, you have to see the post taxation return. So when you are buying physical gold, so like Rin already said that if you are selling it after 36 months, which is a long-term investment, so after 36 months, if you sell that gold, you will have to pay 20% tax plus cess. Then if you are selling it before 36 months, then you have to pay short-term capital gain tax, which is as per your slab rate. And if you
Okay.
are in the highest bracket, then of course it is 30%, which is a lot of money. Firstly, you incurred so much cost while purchasing that gold, making charges, and so many other problems were associated, the storage cost, and so much was incurred in buying that gold, then you will pay 30% tax as well if you sell it before 36 months. So now again, why I like sovereign gold bonds is, first of all, there is no overhead cost involved in it. Secondly, there is no storage problem, no concern about theft or anything. And the best part is the taxation. So basically, any investment, if you're making it today in gold or maybe some other instrument, you don't, if it's for long term, then you have to see it for at least 5 to 7, 8, 10 years. And if you're
Yeah.
planning for retirement, then and buying sovereign gold bonds, then when you sell it after the maturity period, which is 8 years, you don't have to pay any tax on that. So basically, whatever capital gain you are getting is totally tax free. Moreover, in this sovereign gold bonds, you get a simple interest of 2.5% annually, which is, of course, not a very big amount, but this is extra, which you will never get in a physical gold. Although this interest is definitely taxable under the head income from other sources, but this is just over and above what you are getting. So I don't see any issue in paying tax also. So definitely,
Okay.
sovereign gold bonds is a better option in terms of taxation as well. And what Miren said, it's better otherwise also.
Okay, as an investment option, go ahead and go for sovereign gold bonds instead of physical gold this time around. That's the wise word coming in. If you really are fond of gold, perhaps this is an added on advantage that you can really look to add to your financial portfolio as well. All right, the other important asset class is something that we talk day in and day out on Business Today TV, and that is stock markets. And of course, with Diwali, then there is Muhurat trading. We've also seen in the last 2 or 3 years a lot of first time investors have come into the fray, opened their demat accounts for the very first time, and are now getting used to of understanding what are markets, how are they giving returns. So stock markets, mutual funds, are they a good idea to start investing in for a lot of people who haven't done that already on this Diwali, Mirin?
Well, certainly, I'm all in favor of equities, but for everything that you do, you need to do it the right way. And I think the first thing that you need to remember is that you're not doing it out of FOMO, and you're doing it for long term. So today you have a lot of investors who are in it for very short term. And I keep getting questions like, okay, I invested a year back in a fund and it's given me 11% return only, but I want to make 14%. And I found another fund that's given me 15, that's giving 15%, but my fund has given 11% only, right? So I think we are seeing a whole lot of investors who are really trying to make some quick money, but all good things take time to happen, and the same applies to your wealth as well. And there's no shortcut to this. So I think first and foremost, you need to keep that in mind, that when you invest into equities, you need to have a 7 to 10 year holding horizon. Secondly, if you are thinking of buying stocks, you certainly need to do a lot of research. It cannot be that you got a tip from somewhere, or some family member is doing it, or someone in your circle is doing it, and that's why you're also doing it, right? You need to think whether you have the ability, the time, and the bandwidth to really manage these stocks, because if you don't exit at the right time, certainly you're not going to make money out of it. And hence, I would always say, Sakshi, that an easier way for any investor today is to buy a mutual fund. And again, if they don't know what fund to buy, a simple Nifty 50 index fund is all that they need to invest into if they don't know what else to buy, right? So,
Correct,
as
correct.
starting point, I'm saying, the Nifty 50 index fund is there, but the point is, you're going to make money in it only when you remain invested for the long term.
Very true. So first up, again, if you're an absolute fresher, you do not know how to get started, do not invest directly in stocks. Get yourself a mutual fund. If you still do not know where exactly which fund to choose, start with the Nifty 50 index fund. That's the first step to start off with. When you get used to it, and when you start to educate yourself, then you can perhaps look at more funds as well. But definitely, mutual funds is a good way to start investments on this Diwali. What about the taxation aspect on the equity markets investment, Gauri. Both if somebody wants to start off with perhaps a lump sum investment in mutual funds this time around, if they get if they've been saving a lot, they want to invest in one go, or maybe start a SIP in mutual funds, or maybe directly invest in stocks. What are the different aspects one has to be aware of here?
Sakshi, if you're talking about equity, be it mutual funds or direct stocks, the taxation is of course the same. So
Okay.
now, if you are investing in lump sum, then like I invested today, so my cost of acquisition will be given as on today's date, and the date will be today's. Now, if I sell it after 1 year, that is 12 months, then my taxation will be basically just 10%, and I will get 1 lakh as exemption. So earlier, until 2028, as we know that the taxes, there were no taxes on the equity funds and direct equity.
The
But now
golden
that
period
we
has
have
gone.
10%,
Now
sorry.
taxes are reality. The golden period
Exactly,
has
exactly,
gone.
exactly. But then the thing is, there is still a way to save taxes. Like 1 lakh is still exempt in a financial year. So when you are booking your profits, like of course you have to stay invested for 7 years, 10 years, and whatever your financial advisor is guiding you, you have to stay invested for that period to basically earn that money and compound your wealth, of course. But to save taxes, you can apply some strategy, which is that on a day where you feel you want to redeem the funds, you can redeem those funds in such a way that your income from capital gain is up to 1 lakh or just 1 lakh exact.
Okay.
And on the same day, you reinvest that money in the same fund. So basically, you have just booked your profit for 1 lakh, which will be exempt in that year. And going ahead, if you do it every year, so basically if
Correct.
you are invested for say 8 years, so you will save taxes on 8 lakh rupees. So
Wow.
this is a way where you can save taxes. Of course, if your investment is of a higher amount, your taxes will be higher. Of course, you can't apply this strategy on a bigger amount. You can just apply this strategy where your capital gain is up to 1 lakh. But
Mm-hmm.
still, I think for small investors, this is a very good strategy. This is called loss harvesting, which you can do it in equity as well. There are people, direct equity, there are people who make good profits in a financial year, say even short term capital gain. In
Wow.
that year also, they can book some losses on the and then they can set it off. Like this is basically short term capital gain set off and loss. So you can basically adjust your losses, set off your losses from the gains, and you can save tax in that year. So this is basically a strategy which you have to plan it for yourself, or maybe your financial advisor or your tax expert or chartered accountant will do it for you. But this is a must thing, because people make so much money from equity, and when they have to pay taxes on that, I think that it hits hard. So I think you should save as much tax as possible.
All right. So the taxes are definitely a reality when it comes to equity investments, be it direct stocks or mutual funds, lump sum or SIPs, the way you have to do it. But then there are strategies, like Gauri has pointed out. You can definitely save a lot of taxes in case you adopt these strategies with the help of your financial advisor or CA. So just because there is a tax liability, do not miss out on the investment opportunity that equity investments really give you. In fact, get the help of a professional to help you through it and maximize your profits right there. So that's as far as gold and stock markets are concerned. Now, a lot of people also, largely, who want to be a little, perhaps risk averse, Mrin, they invest in a lot of government schemes, like, the small savings schemes. They are very popular, especially with the middle class people. A lot of people invest their money in, say, Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana, maybe a Mahila Samman Yojana, Kisan Vikas Patra, post office schemes, etc. Are these schemes a good idea to invest in, really, for someone who is absolutely risk averse, does not want to like hold up their money in stock markets or maybe gold?
Yeah, sure. Why not? If you're risk averse, it's a good investment. But you must remember that there are two things that don't work for it as an investment. One is the fact that the returns are fully taxable. And of course, there's a price to pay for guaranteed returns, which means that you're going to get a lower return, right? So the returns sometimes would not even beat inflation. So I mean, you have to really weigh the pros and cons of being a conservative investor, right? Being an absolute risk averse person versus the actual returns that you're going to make on a post tax basis. And somewhere I feel that now it's very difficult. If you really want your money to grow, then being a very very risk averse investor is not really going to help you grow your money.
Okay. Okay, got that. So, risk averse is good, but not too much of risk averse will actually be really helpful right there. Gauri, what about the small saving schemes? How are they taxed? Is that a big tax liability one needs to really be aware of before investing?
Not really. See, there are few schemes which are tax-free. The interest on those schemes are tax-free,
Okay.
like PPF, which is a very common investment. It is under the category of triple E, that is exempt, exempt, exempt. But then, of course, there's an upper limit to it. You can just invest 1.5 lakhs in a year,
Yeah,
and then the lock-in period is really high. And if we talk about these schemes, small saving schemes, usually they have a high lock-in period. So, but yeah, during like if you complete the maturity and you redeem that money, there are schemes in which you have to pay taxes. There are schemes in which the interest is totally tax free. But again, the interest is low. And if it is taxable also, and then you see the post taxation return, then I think it's nothing. So honestly, I'm not a big fan of small saving schemes, but of course, I understand there are people who don't go for equity. They don't, they still fear equity. They don't, they still think that it is a kind of gamble, and they go for small saving schemes. That's okay. But then you have to see the lock-in period, the taxation part, and everything involved in it. Apart from that, I think senior citizens, especially, they invest in senior citizen saving scheme,
correct.
which is a good option for them. But again, the taxation, the interest is taxable, and the interest is low. So it will depend on person to person. It will differ if they want to invest in that or not.
Okay, so there is a tax liability then that you need to definitely be aware of. So it may not be very risky to invest in all of these since the returns may be fixed, but because of the tax liability, it may make all these schemes a little less appealing. So do speak to your financial advisor to find out how much should you be really putting in as an exposure from your own investment portfolio to these schemes, and not park all of your money in such schemes as well. So that's important for again. Now the other asset class that we will discuss today is the real estate sector. So Mrin, again, real estate has been something as an age-old investment advice that most of the parents have handed over to their children. Definitely invest in a house. You must have to have a house for yourself. Nowadays, people are also looking at investments in a house or a residential property, maybe some of them as a commercial property for an investment purpose as well. For those people who have the money, is it a good idea to invest in real estate on this Diwali? Or for people who do not have that kind of a money to spend but still want some exposure to real estate, what would be a good idea?
Yeah, and I think the first thing that people must remember is that for some reason I see, that everybody around thinks that real estate is this product that's going to give you this 20-25% returns very easily if you hold it for the long term, right? But the reality is when you look at the growth of the residential real estate prices over last decade, okay, or so, you find that the actual returns are pretty low, okay? So the growth rates are not even coming to double digits, okay, in most of the large cities in India. And when you look at it on a blended basis, like taking into account that you gave a house on rent and then you paid property tax and some maintenance, and of course, rent is taxable as well, right? So, given all of those things put together, you would find that the return from real estate is going to be in the range of about maybe 7 to 9% per annum, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you have money and you're buying it, sure, do so if you feel more comfortable with real estate as an asset class, and as long as you're cognizant that this is what your return is. But what I see is that a lot of people are buying the second real estate by taking a loan at 9%. So again, the reality remains that you have to be cognizant that this is not an investment that's actually going to give you a very very high return. So if you're taking a loan at 9% and your real estate investment is giving you 8-9%, then it's basically canceling off. In
Yeah,
the price is getting cancelled with the interest that's getting compounded. So I
true.
think these are some factors that you need to keep in mind. And honestly, Sakshi, I always believe that the choice of whether to do real estate or whether to do equity is very dependent on the person, right? If a person doesn't feel comfortable doing equities but is very comfortable with real estate, then so be it. Let them be in that.
Sure, sure. Absolutely. So, to each his own. But at this point in time, very, very important to understand the returns aspect, the kind of money that goes out from your pocket while you're investing in real estate, and of course, the kind of returns that you earn on investments comparing to the other asset classes. That is something over a long period of time you need to study and again go back to the drawing board with your financial advisor to really take the best decision. But, Gauri, taxation aspect on real estate again, can real estate investments really help you some save taxes?
Yeah, so if we talk about selling right now, of course, there are taxes. If you are holding the property for more than 2 years, you have to pay long-term capital gains. Otherwise, it is short-term capital gains. But the best part is that if you are already holding a property, maybe you purchase it from your own funds, or maybe your parents gave you, that is basically inherited property from parents or grandparents or anything, or maybe you have sold some other asset, maybe your jewelry or maybe share equity also or anything else, then the capital gain arising out of that, be it your property, long term property or long term any other asset, you can save taxes by investing in property. So basically, if you are selling a residential property, you can save taxes by investing in another residential property. Or maybe if you have huge capital gains out of equity sale, or maybe gold, jewelry sale, or any other asset, maybe a plot also that is not a residential property but a plot, that also you can save taxes by investing in a residential property. So yeah, for the from the if we see this aspect of saving taxes, the property investment is a very good idea. But of course, then you have to keep in mind that you have to your money will be blocked for a longer period of time, liquidity will not be there, and it is not for people who don't have much funds. The ticket size is usually big. So other aspects, of course, you have to consider. But yes, for saving taxes, real estate is a good option in every way, be it a property, a sale, or be it any other asset sale. But it has to be long term.
Long term, it is a great opportunity. Okay, fine. The other thing that a lot of us really don't think through but get excited about is a Diwali bonus. Most companies announce it. Just recently, I think the Delhi government has also announced a Diwali bonus for the employees as well. I wanted to also understand, how to best use the bonus, Mrin. What is the best advice that you can give for people who get 1 or 2 months' salaries as bonus and they want to perhaps look at spending all of it? But what would be an ideal way to really use those bonus funds?
I would say pay off your loans, right? Today we are seeing individuals not only having home loan, but having many other loans like personal loans or buy now, pay later. I would really say that, try to make your life debt free. What people don't understand is that as investments compound, so does interest on all your loans, right? And at some point, that interest on all your loans is compounding much faster than what your investments are compounding. So I think it's really important that, you of course use some amount to spend for yourself. And as I said, it is festive season, so it's fine to do some spending, but I would actually utilize any extra money that would come in to repay loans if I have loans. And if I don't have loans, and I would think less than 1% of people in India would be in that situation. But if I don't have loans, then I would just go and invest money and allocate it across my financial goals. And of course, as I said, but keeping some of it aside for some festive spending.
Okay, a little bit of festive spending, definitely go ahead and do that as it makes you happy, but definitely pay off your loans first. Get debt free is the advice coming in from Rain. All right, Gauri, what about you? Our Diwali bonus is also really taxed. We end up getting and giving a lot of gifts on Diwali. Bonus is also a kind of a financial gift as well, but none of us really think through this, whether there is any taxation aspect here.
Yes, actually, so it's very interesting. Every year during Diwali time, you will hear some big company has given employees cars, flats. I
Yes.
remember a few years ago, some businessman from Surat had gifted flats, and this year I was reading, I think 2 days ago, some a pharmaceutical company in Haryana they have gifted cars to their employees.
Yes.
So of course, it is taxable. If you get a bonus of 5,000 up to 5,000, that is exempt. But if
Okay.
it is more than 5,000, then you have to pay tax. And if we are talking about such big gifts like cars and all, then of course the value, especially because it is in kind, you have to see the value of that, and you have to add it to your income and pay taxes. And if these big companies are doing it, I assume that these companies will take care of the taxation. They will deduct TDS accordingly. So I believe if you are getting such big bonus from the company or maybe some big gift from the company, then maybe from next month onwards you will see a cut in your salary in terms of TDS. They will deduct that amount, and maybe next month onwards you will get less credit in your account maybe.
Wow. So that one needs to be really cognizant of when while we are happy getting in all those bonuses and gifts. There is a taxation aspect. So get to know that if your company is giving you a bonus or a gift up till 5,000 rupees, of course, no tax liability. Above that, you need to pay taxes as well, even on your Diwali bonus or any kind of extravagant gifts that your companies give you. Anything else or towards the end of the show, Mrin and Gauri, that you'd like to add as an advice to all the investors, viewers out there who want to start off with their journey on financial planning or tax planning this season? Starting with you, Mrin.
So I would just still say that don't be in a hurry, because that's what I see today. Everybody's in that hurry to make that 14, 18%. Okay.
Yeah.
And I would say that research well, read up, just like you would do for a vacation, right? Spend some time reading up, take formal advice before jumping. And of course, thankfully, I think the effect of influencers has come down because of everything that's been happening around us. But I do see a lot of new products, a lot of products that look very exciting and too good to be true. And remember, if they do look it, they are actually too good to be true.
Okay. What about you, Gauri? Your piece of advice this Diwali for all the investors and
Uh,
viewers?
my piece of advice would be that don't just focus on tax planning. So even if you have to pay little bit of extra taxes this year and get more money in hand to invest in better instruments to make more money in future, then you can do that. But of course, if you don't invest, you don't believe in investing, and you just spend everything, then of course you should save taxes this year and not pay higher taxes.
All right. Well, it was a pleasure speaking to both of you, Mrin and Gauri, and seeking all these valuable insights that I'm sure is like a masterclass in itself as to how to go about financial planning this year round. So, if people who haven't started off, this is the episode that you want to watch and rewatch and keep taking down the notes, and then definitely speak to your financial advisor to get down and get started on your financial planning. All the very best to all our viewers, and many thanks, Mrin and Gauri. Season's greetings to you both again. Happy Diwali to you, to your families, and to your teams as well. Many thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, and with that, we will wrap up this special on Diwali and on financial planning for Diwali as well. But do stay tuned on to Business Today TV, as a whole lot more comes up right up on your screens from the world of business and stock markets.